Sometimes, no matter what you do, you will always be seen as the enemy. So what? You're always going to upset a lot of people when you're living life on your own terms. Today on rLounge, we're living the dream. Our first OP can't believe it's not meat until it nearly costs her her life. Mother-in-law told my husband and I to stop being martyrs when we were upset that brother-in-law lied about food he served and I had anaphylaxis because of it. I have MCAS, and my husband's family thinks that I'm faking it. We went to his nephew's 3rd birthday party. I always pre-game antihistamines before going anywhere that could present an allergy trigger. So, in addition to my 10 milligrams Zyrtec and loratadine dose, I had an additional 10 milligrams of both, plus my cromolyn about 30 minutes before the party started. Brother-in-law was serving hot dogs and hamburgers to the guests for lunch. The hot dogs were beef, but the hamburgers were not. He presented them as beef and did not disclose that the hamburgers were actually plant-based to anyone. I ate one of the burger patties and, shortly after, started to feel a little weird. So I asked my husband if we could leave. As we were saying our goodbyes, brother-in-law asked, "How was your burger?" I told him it was good and thanked him for cooking. He then says, "They weren't real burgers. They were plant-based. I don't tell people they're plant-based because then no one would want them, and I think they taste better." I was so shocked that he did that, I didn't say anything at first. He started asking if I would have eaten if I had known, and I didn't know how to respond, so I told him that I regularly eat plant-based foods, so it was weird to me that he wasn't honest about it. On the drive home, my throat started feeling sticky, so I took 2 Benadryls. A few minutes later, my voice got raspy and I started wheezing and couldn't swallow. When it was clear that the meds I took before plus the Benadryl weren't going to work, I used my EpiPen. I didn't know that you're supposed to carry 2 EpiPens with you everywhere you go, so when the reaction came back about 10 minutes later, I was SOL. We tried to rush home to get my other EpiPen, but it got to the point that I was starting to lose consciousness, so my husband called 911, and EMTs met us at the nearest exit off the freeway we were driving on, and they gave me another dose of Epi, and then 100 milligrams of IV Benadryl. Luckily, that resolved the allergy attack. Once I finally got home after the whole ordeal, I was feeling terrified of ever going out again, so I made a post on Facebook that said, "PSA, please remember to disclose what foods you're serving to your guests so that they can know if they need to avoid it. Don't assume anyone's dietary restrictions, and be sure to be upfront with what you're serving. I had an experience today where a plant-based burger was presented as a beef burger, and the server didn't know that plant-based burgers have allergens in them like peanuts, soy, and potentially cricket flour, which people with shellfish allergies can't have. I had anaphylaxis because of this. So just keep that in mind and remember that some people have severe allergies to things you might not even know are in the food." My husband's younger sister reacted to the post, commented, "Maybe you should have asked before coming," and then texted him that I was the most disgusting human on earth, that she couldn't believe he chose me over blood, and that because of me, she no longer sees him as a brother. His mom texted him saying, "Why does she have to be like this?" And when he called her to try to explain the situation, she shouted at him and said that I am tearing their family apart. He tried to tell her how traumatic it was for him to have to be in that situation and that brother-in-law caused the situation by lying about the food, and she told him we needed to stop being martyrs. Husband stood by me even though his stilted said horrible things and told him that he was dead to her. I guess after we left, his sister and mom spent several hours talking about how I've changed him, how I've stolen from them, how I am not a safe person because I speak my mind, and how I make up my own chronic illness for attention. So, unbeknownst to me, they were all primed and ready for the attack when I made the post, and they chose to interpret it as an attack on them even though it was not accusatory and didn't mention any of them at all. I'm so done with them. Their gaslighting genuinely had me questioning my sanity. The ableism and vitriol they have towards me is mind-blowing, especially because none of them can point to a reason why they hate me when they are pressed for one. They bond over their loathing of me, and I'm just over here vibing with no clue as to why I'm seen as public enemy number 1. Let's check in with the community for a couple of reactions. First one says, "Show paperwork from your ER visit and ask them why they want you dead." Another comment says, "She should send the medical bills to the brother-in-law." Next one responds, "Only as an addendum to the lawsuit." One more has a more insightful thought. "Not to diminish your illness, but that's just the convenient excuse your husband's family is using as to why they hate you. It doesn't make sense because there is no sense to it. They hate you because they hate you. Odds are they'd hate anyone your husband married. All the BS about tearing the family apart, stole husband from the family, changed husband are common phrases used by toxic family members to describe people who won't roll over and let themselves be abused. I'm betting that if you ask your husband about what his family was like before you came along, you'll find they were just as toxic and hateful, and that someone else, most likely your husband, was their target of choice. These people are actually physically dangerous to you. They nearly killed you this time. Don't think they won't try it again. Don't go anywhere near them or accept anything from them, ever again. The OP replied, "So you hit the nail on the head. He told me they don't like me because I speak my mind and can't be controlled." Another commenter chimes in too. "My ex-mother-in-law separately put my child in the hospital feeding her allergen, and then 2 years later put another grandchild in the hospital doing the same thing. My child's is a dairy issue. Her cousin's is a nut allergy. So different issues completely. She literally thinks all allergies are made up. Some people do not care in any way about other people and honestly think they're smarter than doctors. Now you know how these people think. You have seen their true personality and need to act accordingly." Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the comments. It's not the allergies they hate, it's the fact that you spoke up. Unfortunately, they more than likely always have been like this and have fostered an environment where no one is able to be true to their authentic selves. I feel so bad for your husband. I'm also sorry that someone's negligence nearly got you killed. What do you make of this? Meanwhile, our next OP can't handle this drama queen. Am I the a-hole for being pissed at my future mother-in-law? So my fiance and I have a big wedding planned in 2026, for money reasons, etc. However, he turns 26 in a month and goes off his parents' health insurance, while I have great health insurance through my work. We plan to do just a quick formality courthouse wedding in a week, and we are trying to treat it as much as a business deal as possible to not ruin what we consider to be our true wedding day in 2026. We needed 2 witnesses, so I asked my mom and he asked his, but told them both they were 100% absolutely not allowed to tell anyone. We didn't want anyone knowing, and they said okay, since we figured this would mean a lot to them to have them being there. Now tonight I go to a party with his family, and I show up to find that his mother, my future mother-in-law, has told everyone in the family, and later throughout the night, we even get phone calls from family out of town who are asking about the courthouse wedding. And I blew up. I'm beyond mad and feel like she 100% betrayed my trust on something that meant a great deal to me. She thinks it was okay since she was just so excited to finally have me as a daughter-in-law. Am I the a-hole for still being pissed, or should I just suck it up and forgive her? Let's see how the community makes some judgments. First judgment, not the a-hole, but she's going to be in your life for a long time. Let it go. But don't ever tell her anything in confidence again, or that you don't want everyone else to know. She told you who she really is. Believe her. The next judgment says, not the a-hole at all, but for the future of your relationship with her, and probably your husband, probably best to at least leave it alone for a bit. Once you've gotten past your, very valid, anger, have a conversation on how she hurt you and violated your trust. But also, I wouldn't trust her with secrets in the future, no matter how she responds to the conversation, if you have one. You're absolutely not the a-hole here. Your mother-in-law is entirely at fault. You asked her not to say anything, and she very much spilled the beans. Your own mother was there and managed not to say a word, so it's not hard to keep a secret. But apparently, that's asking a lot for your mother-in-law. It's incredibly disrespectful of her. The comments are right. You can be pissed about it. You have every right. Just don't trust her with a secret ever again. She's lost that privilege. Update on r/mother-in-laws-from-hell. Mother-in-law calls husband to talk about me for over an hour. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can, but I'm sorry if it ends up long. My husband and I just got married about a week ago in a little courthouse wedding. We'd like to do a bigger wedding at some point, but right now weddings are just so expensive, so we did a smaller courthouse wedding. We just had my mother and his mother be witnesses, since we figured that would be a nice special thing we could do for them. So, however, we wanted to keep this a secret from everyone else. Ever since then, it has been an issue, one after another. She did not keep it a secret and told everyone, and does not understand why I'm mad about that. So I haven't been speaking with her as much, and last night she called my husband while she thought I wasn't there, and pretty much proceeded to spend an hour talking terribly about me, calling me all sorts of names, saying that I'm this horrible, controlling bridezilla person who is just using him for all of his money, and that I don't really love him, I shouldn't have married him, and I'm just going to be ruling his life. I have him brainwashed, I'm making him not like her. She's furious that we don't want kids at the wedding and says that it can't be because my husband doesn't want kids at the wedding. It's only because I hate children and I'm this terrible, terrible human being who doesn't want any kids. And I want to control the wedding along with repeating a lot of things that I have said, except twisting them to make it seem like I'm planning to quit my job and making him pay for everything full time, which is not true, and a ton of other things. It was just very, very unneeded and uncomfortable to the fact, for she even made fun of how I kissed him at the court wedding. So yeah, we've had some issues with her in the past, but never anything this bad, and I just want to know if anyone has any advice. Thank you. Ask for advice? The community has one bit. Yeah, your husband should have never let her rant about you for 3 seconds, let alone an entire hour. He, or you, is going to have to stand up to her and tell her like it is. I'd have to agree. Your husband listened for an hour too long. So what if you don't want to have kids at the wedding? The point is that it is your wedding to control. And likewise, if you quit your job, it's nobody's business but her own. Update. Mother-in-law ruined any chance at dream wedding. Fiance and I had just finished a tour at our dream wedding venue and were ready to put down a deposit, and we called his parents to tell them the good news. Let me preface by saying it was just because we were excited. They were contributing nothing to this wedding and get no say. We called them and told them, and informed them it would be a kid-free wedding as we both are not children fans and do not plan on having any ourselves. And his mother lost it, said that we wanted her grandchildren to be abused by a babysitter because we didn't want them at the wedding. The call ended and we felt apprehensive about it. She later called him when she thought he was alone and started to say that it was clear I hated children and wanted to abuse them, that I was demanding too fancy of a wedding venue, that I was a gold digger, and everything under the sun negative she could think of about me. And yes, I wanted my fiancé to listen and not hang up, so we both knew how she really felt about me. And that's where I finally snapped and made the hard decision of no longer having my dream wedding, because of the drama that just a venue rule was causing. Him and I decided that it would be better to elope in a dream location and save money. But now I can't help myself constantly feeling like she ruined any idea of ever having my dream wedding, and it makes me sad. Has anyone had a similar situation? How did you deal with it? Would it be out of the question to have a small wedding and not invite her? Let's check with the community for some responses. The first one goes like this. I'd first change my perspective to reality. I allowed my mother-in-law to get her way and ruin my chance at a dream wedding under the guise of trying to avoid drama, which you will never do with her because she will always be against you. What will you do next? Have children to avoid the drama too? Put yourself first. No one else ever will. Go for what you truly want and give her no reaction. You're rewarding her by letting her steal your joy and taking an easy way out. Tell her she can miss the wedding and stay with the kids. Anything but let her win in any way. Another comment says, you are only punishing yourselves and giving credence to her insanity by changing what you want. Have the big wedding where you want it, and don't invite her. As hard as it might feel for him, the logic is not inviting vipers that don't support your union to come celebrate such a joyous occasion. Since you both now clearly know her thoughts on you, the wedding, the marriage, etc., it sounds like she has no reason to attend. Make that happen. You can deal with it by reversing that decision and having your dream wedding. It's your money that you're spending on this wedding, not theirs. If they decide to have hissies about whether or not people need babysitters, then tough luck, not your problem. If you let her win now, you'll always lose. What would you do? Thank you for following along today on rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to share regarding today's content, we want to hear it. See you soon.